Yeah, thank you, Jasper. Just in terms of introduction, my wife and I, Nosy, we have 3 kids. 2 of our kids are at varsity, and our last one is at the high school. I joined GIG in 2011. Now, I joined GIG at a very, very interesting time in my life because before even knowing about GIG, I just made a major decision in my career in that I just left my full-time job to become an independent business person or self-employed, whatever you want to call it. And just briefly, in terms of the decision, for quite a while before making the decision, I had been one of those people who were just troubled by what was coming. You know, every time I looked into the future, beyond what was at the time a very comfortable job and, you know, at the senior level, but I was just not satisfied that I was better prepared for the future, especially having the kids. You know, my wife and I knew well that we had to obviously educate the children. But for me, the narrative that said, give them good education and they will, you know, automatically get a good job was just not enough. But interestingly, at the time, I just couldn't put my finger to it in terms of, you know, how do I fix this? But this was such a major thing for me that it took me to the point of really saying, I need to do something beyond just, you know, waiting for the day when I go to retirement. The other reason why I took the decision was, you know, just before I made a decision, I went through something that, you know, even today, sometimes I battle to explain to people, but simply put, it was a very strong sense that I needed to go out there and work with communities, especially around the area of business, impart what I know, and just find like-minded people, and there was something out there to be done. And of course, none of this made sense, but it was it had made such a big impact in my life that I decided to take the step anyway. And immediately after I'd left my job, obviously I was, you know, the first thing I thought I would do was to get into consulting. So I was busy preparing myself to become a consultant. And you know, I remember sitting down in my lounge, you know, and I was thinking, all right, I need to now, you know, start talking to people and you know, meeting people. And then I started thinking about people that I knew in my life, people that had made some impact in my life. And interestingly, Jasper's name came up. Now, Jasper and I had been, you know, family friends for quite a while, but we had lost contact and we hadn't been together or even spoken for quite a while. And right up, I found Jasper's number, I contacted him, and we had coffee. And I remember in that meeting when he told me and he explained me what he was busy with and this gig thing, and it was still all fuzzy. And I thought to myself, this is interesting because this talks to what has been bothering me. And it didn't take long before I knew that this is where I needed to focus on. And that's how I came to GIG. Now, this was 2011. And as soon as I started just spending more time and talking the concept with Jasper, I realized that, you know, this was a great concept, but there's a lot of work to be done. And it actually took Jasper about 6 months to convince me to really be directly involved in the leadership structure, because I said to myself, I cannot put hours into this thing because I need to start this consulting business. I need to start building my business. But anyway, 2012, I then formally agreed to be part of the leadership team, and then really the journey began, and we really started to put together this wonderful vision that Jasper had and shared with us, and it really agreed with what I had seen, although seen in my mind, and it was very clear to me, although I just couldn't put the finger on it at the time. In terms of the gig message that really appealed to me when I joined gig, this whole concept of really raising a hand to becoming the founding parent of your family dynasty. And here's the thing, for me, the notion that it's all in your hands. You need to make a decision, and once you've made that decision, no matter what challenges may come your way, it's possible. The whole concept of being part of a group of people who share the same mindset with you. Because I know that as a collective, no matter what challenges you have, there will be a solution. That for me was very, very exciting. And also in gig, as you know, we talk a lot about the mindset that needs to change. And for me, I found that to be so liberating that, it's got nothing to do with your background. It's got nothing to do with who you know. It's just got to do with your mindset. If you can agree to open yourself up to learn and change your mindset, wow, it's possible. So that for me was really exciting, and that was that's what appealed to me, at the time when I joined gig. Also, relating to the calling that I had, working with communities, the idea of being part of this amazing positive story, that in my mind, it was very clear at the time that this will impact hundreds of families in time. That was really an honor to be part of. In terms of how gig has impacted us as a family to date, remember, as I said, when I got to know about gig, I just changed my career to become an entrepreneur. Now, as you all know, some of you are entrepreneurs. Some of you know people who are entrepreneurs. It's really a challenging path to take. And I knew this when I made the decision. But my goodness, I had no idea the scale of challenges that one faces. Now, as an entrepreneur, the prospect of seeing one project after the other failing, initially that was just so overwhelming. But of course, later you learn that failure in this journey is part of the process. Next effect, this reminds me of someone who said that the word fail stands for first attempt in learning. First attempt in learning. And you realize that, you're in a learning process. You're learning all the time. So failure, you begin to embrace it, and you learn from it, and you get better in this journey. So gig, helped me and my family to really put a clear vision of where we're going as a family. So as we were meeting these challenges, we could put things in perspective. You know that as part of the training, when you do your generational goal setting, you really can paint the picture into the future. And one thing that has really helped me is in 2013, we put together a 10-year goal, in terms of where we want to be as a family. And you paint this as a vision. So when you have to jump, hurdles, you understand that you're moving closer to your vision. So it just helps to cope better with whatever challenges that you may need to cope with. Also, a lot of the stumbling blocks for us to achieve our goals as a society. You know, we are constantly under the pressure that says, you know, it's got to be instant. You know, you've got to be seen to be successful now, and that's pressure that ultimately prevents us to really achieve those goals that we've set for ourselves. Secondly, how gig has impacted us. Once we started the journey, one of the first business that we got into, my wife is an author, and we decided that you know, she would self-publish. So our initial stock of books, it was through the loaning share loan, and that we were able to buy 2,000 books, and that set her up in her business. And to date, she's published 3 books that she's selling as a self-published author. Thirdly, through the loaning share, we were able to consolidate all our debts and, you know, get out of high interest debt and have the no interest debt as the one that we paid off to get rid of our debts. And lastly, in terms of how it impacted us, you know, being an entrepreneur, it was such a benefit to be part of like-minded people who are their founding members of their family dynasty in their own right, but you know, those who are in business, we could talk the entrepreneurship language, but also have the same mindset, and that for me was really, really helpful. My advice to other families who are on gig journey, a couple of things. Firstly, I wanna say that please make sure that you have all the basics covered. You know, today with all the input of you know, different people who've come through to be part of this journey, part of gig, we now have, you know, the training program is even online. So there's absolutely no excuse for every gig member to go through that training. You have to go through it and go through it thoroughly. You know, our generational goal setting that we did at the time, it's something that we continuously look at and improve on. So you must have that generational goal setting done as a family. Your generational budgeting is very, very important. You must do that. You know, it helps you to understand the difference between the security budget. If you really were to be at the bottom, what is it that the minimum budget that you need? And also your lifestyle budget. You may not be in a position right now to enjoy that lifestyle that you want, but do put down your lifestyle budget, you know, so that you have something to work towards. And that's part of the generational budgeting training that you go through. One of the other basics that you must do, the wealth coach interview, and this is the latest thing that we've introduced. Please make sure that you do have that wealth coach interview, which you can then review annually with your wealth coach. You know, because out of that, critical outcomes there will be your 21-year plan, 7-year plan, and your 12 months action plans, because it is about taking the action. So that's very, very important. You must do that. The second advice, now, ideally, if you are married, husband and wife, it's important that both of you, you know, are really leading the process for the family, involved in the process. However, if your partner maybe is not as involved as you are, it's okay. You then must lead the process. At least one of you must lead the process, because it's very easy to fall back, and you know, and if you don't put an effort, nothing happens in your journey. So if not both of you, one of you must be leading the process. Very, very important. And if the other partner is not as involved, you need to work with the partner. Don't always expect the partner to be at the same level as you. Be patient with each other as you go through this game. Sometimes they may not understand, why I'm so excited, where are the results. So you need to understand that you need to be patient with them, as you go through the journey. This is so important, especially when you have to make sacrifices, because making sacrifices is part of the journey. Remember the 4 S's. To move from struggle to stability, you will have to make sacrifices. And stability to success, you may have to make more sacrifices. But if you have a plan, then it's easier to make those sacrifices. Now, as a family, if you do have kids, make sure that you involve them as early as possible, so that the language at home changes. You get them involved in the dream charts, which is the picture that you're painting for the future for this family. And also celebrate every achievement you're making, no matter how small those achievements are. As you reduce debt, getting out of debt, celebrate that. When you open that 32-day call account, celebrate that. Your first loan share loan that you take for a purpose to achieve, celebrate that. Whatever it is, how small, no matter how small it is, it's important to celebrate that. Another advice, now, it doesn't matter what career choice you've chosen. Remember, my one was being an entrepreneur. Your one could be being employed. It's okay. It's not about the career that makes it different. It's about what you do with what you have. No matter the career choice you have to work towards multiple income streams. I just want to stress this. I know that is part of the process, especially when you move from stability to success. But you have to make sure that you put an effort in that. If you're employed, you have a job, take that job as one income stream. You need to get 2 more income streams at least. Obviously, continue to get more. And lastly, my advice, love your wealth coach. All right? You need to love your wealth coach. In other words, get to know him or her, because this person is there to assist you, and learn from him, learn from her, and here's what I want to say: aim to become one, because it's only when you really become a wealth coach and you're gonna see the satisfaction of being part of other families' journeys as you work with them to achieve their goals. Yeah, and in ending, I just want to leave you with this quote. This is Amelia's Earhart's quote, where she says, "The most difficult thing is the decision to act. The rest is merely tenacity." Close quote.